If you think you need a massive audience to launch a successful podcast, I want you to think again. In today's episode, I'm breaking down how to go from 0 to your first 100 listeners without crazy tech, crazy paid ads, a lot of money, and a massive audience. If you've been waiting for the right time to start your podcast, let this be your sign, and let's get into today's conversation. Welcome back to As It Relates to Podcasting. My name is Simona Costantini. I am the founder of Volt Productions, which is a full-service podcast production agency helping entrepreneurs and small business owners launch, grow, and monetize their shows. If this sounds like you and something you need help with or want to dive deeper on, please feel free to book a discovery call, which is linked in the episode notes below. I would love to chat with you. I would love to meet you, hear about your podcast, hear about your idea and what you're creating, and see how we can help it come to life or help it grow or help it monetize. The link for that, again, is in the episode notes below. And with that, we're going to talk about how to launch your podcast and get your first 100 listeners without a huge audience. The very first thing that you want to do is to lay the foundation for a strong launch. This is critical, and sometimes it's something that is very often overlooked, but you want to make sure when you're starting your podcast that you're choosing a niche that attracts in your listener. Being specific beats trying to appeal to every single person because you're not talking to every single person. What you're doing is you're talking to one person specifically and you are solving their problem that they have, that they have, and you can solve. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you're creating a compelling podcast name. The name of your podcast really matters. If people don't know what you're talking about and people don't know what your show is about, they're probably not going to click on it a whole lot, and they're probably not going to listen to episodes because they don't really know what they're getting into. So that's why having a podcast name is so important. And it's also actually why I always recommend having a trailer for your show, because having a trailer for your podcast is a key asset to help people understand what your show is all about, who you are as the host, and what they can expect from your content. These are all pieces that you want to leave people with, right? You want people to understand what is your podcast about and who is it for and why should they care. So make sure that the name of your show, the description of your show, leaves people feeling curious enough for a click. And then when they do click, that the content is solving the problem that they thought they were asking to be solved, okay? You also want to consider your tech. Of course, there are so many different tech recommendations that people have, and there's all kinds of tech that you can use. There's 1,005 different microphones, all kinds of different lighting, recording software. It actually can be super overwhelming. And if you want more resources for this and what tech to use and all of that, please go to my website because all of that information is there, voltproductions.co. The link is in the episode notes below. You will get answers to all of your questions. But you want to have your essential tech and your setup without overcomplicating it. There are must-have tools to get started, in my opinion. In this day and age, I think that you need a camera. I think that most podcasts should be done with video, but I also don't think that that should be the thing that deters you from getting in front of your audience. So if it is the thing that deters you, focus on your mic, focus on recording audio only. And if you are going to use video, you want to have some kind of lighting, whether that's a softbox light, natural light, or a ring light, or a light that sits on the top of your computer. Whatever it is that you use, keep it simple. And then you want to record your first 3 to 5 episodes. Have a backlog of episodes. It is so important with keeping up momentum. If you have episodes in the bank, you'll see every single week, once you launch your show, the weeks pass by very quickly. And before you know it, your next episode is here. So if you can record 3 to 5 episodes before you launch, that is a huge win, and I think it's super important. Not only that, though, creating a production schedule, right? Create a production schedule where you can know exactly what it is you have to do and when you have to do it by and which episodes are going out and when. I really want you to remember this, okay? Create your production schedule, know what episodes you're launching. This will help you so much, especially as you get into the launch phase. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is your launch strategy. I am a huge fan of maximizing your exposure from even before day one, okay? You want to build the hype around your podcast before you even launch. So think about leveraging your social media, leveraging your email list, and also your personal network too, and your professional network, of course, and all of these people, all of these touch points that you can maximize before your launch. I want you to bring them along for the journey. Let them see the behind the scenes of recording. Let them know about episodes that you've recorded that you absolutely love. Let them know about guests that you have coming that are, really exciting for you. These pieces bring familiarity. And people love to see behind the scenes and feel like they're a part of something bigger. The more you can bring them along the journey and the more you can build the hype for your show before you even launch, the better your launch is going to go because people are going to be aware of what it is that you're creating. Then if you think about your email list, so how do you get those subscribers in that earlier phase without even having an audience? Tap into different communities. Think about doing guest collaborations and think about leveraging existing networks. There are so many podcasters out there. Threads, for example, is an amazing platform to connect with other podcasters. Same with Facebook groups. So the more you expand your audience and your own reach and bring them back into your community, the more likely you will have those earlier subscribers on your show because they become fans of your work and they want to follow along for more. Also, something you can do, and something we've done a lot in the agency over the years, is doing a giveaway or some kind of incentive at launch. So when you encourage listeners to subscribe and ask them to leave a review, you can also say all of the reviews that are being, left within a time frame get entered to win my book, or get entered to win a strategy call, or get entered to win a month of free production, or whatever that looks like. Think about what it is that you have, the assets that you already have that you've created, and what you would feel comfortable giving away, and make it exciting for people, right? You want to make sure that whatever you're giving away resonates with your audience and resonates with the person that is listening, because if that giveaway if they don't care about the giveaway, then they're not going to opt in for it, right? And the last thing that I want you to consider is optimizing your podcast for search, which is your SEO and it's your titles. Discoverability plays a huge role in podcast growth. Again, kind of like I was saying earlier about the podcast name, if people don't know what it means, they're not going to click. So if your titles are not solving a problem and if they're not clear and they sound very generic, people aren't going to click on them. You can go to my website. I have a download that you can grab to title your podcast episodes and plan for your first 3 episodes. So I highly recommend grabbing that because I think it's a huge, huge, huge resource and a huge plus. So think about your podcast search. Think about how your podcast shows up in search, your SEO, and your titles, because they absolutely do matter. But really what we're here to talk about is getting those first 100 listeners. So let's talk about some growth tactics that actually work to do that. The very first one that I'm going to share with you is guesting on other podcasts and leveraging strategic cross promotions. You have so much power in leveraging borrowed audiences. When you are a guest on somebody else's podcast, their audience learns about you and who you are. If they like your message and what you're sharing, they come back into your community and connect with you. The more you can put yourself in front of new audiences, the more likely your audience will continue to grow. People start to hear your message, they learn who you are, and then when you go to launch your podcast, they're instantly hooked and they want to be a part of your journey because they already believe so deeply in what you're doing. So make sure that you put guesting on other podcasts as part of your pre-podcast launch plan. The next thing is making your podcast easy to spread. And this comes by creating shareable content from your episodes of key parts that are actually really resonant. So I heard from a friend of mine the other day who sent me a message. She was a guest on one of my clients' podcasts, and she sent me a message saying that she absolutely loved the clips that we selected because the clips told a story from start to finish. What I see a lot of creators do a lot of the time is they select a 20-second clip in the middle of the podcast episode that has no meaning, that people don't understand the context around, and they post it on social media. Well, when that happens, it falls flat because people don't know what you're talking about. People don't know and haven't heard the context from beginning to end. So, with this in mind, if you create your podcast content in a way that tells a story from start to finish, you're more likely to have people stay to the end. You're more likely to capture that audience. So, it's not just about pulling random clips out of your episodes, but it's really about finding those key moments, those key pieces that share more about your episode that people can actually relate to. You want to engage your listeners and you want them to keep coming back. So continue to build that connection on social media. Answer messages when people send you messages. Communicate through your newsletter and create that community engagement. Within my agency, we do this every single day. We do this through our DMs, my personal ones, and on Volt Productions. We do this through our community on Discord. We do this through the podcast. We do this through our newsletter. Communication matters and building relationships really matter. So if you're wanting to reach those listeners and you really want to have those first 100 listeners at launch, this is where you should focus some of your energy as well. The last thing that I want to talk about is the mindset of a growing podcaster. It's really important to stay consistent and to learn from your earlier episodes. Now, I have a client that we've been working with and doing some consulting stuff for, and we've been helping her with her overall strategy. And she said to me, she's like, I'm not even going to take a look at my downloads really and really, focus in on what the number actually is until 100 episodes in. And I loved this because it's so refreshing to see people creating content out of purpose versus just for the numbers. The numbers will always come. And of course, for her, they continue to download and continue to come. And what that gives us is the more episodes you create, the more data we now have. And you're able to stay consistent. And if you're able to stay consistent and learn from your earlier episodes, you'll start to create more content that people actually love and that people want to consume. So if you see specific episodes doing better than others, you're going to create more content like that. So these are my tips for getting your first 100 listeners as you launch your podcast. If you have any questions and you want to dive deeper, please feel free to book a discovery call with me. The link is in the episode notes below. Message me on Instagram, say hello. Thank you for being here today, and I will see you on next week's episode.